Whatever your goal is it truly big enough for you? We have to take the cap off. We have to allow ourselves to dream. We all have dreams. We all have things we want to do in this world. And if we were to follow our intuition perfectly, my God, I tell you, your life will change.
And I remember him saying to me at that moment, anything coming out of your mouth after but is a circumstance. You are letting your circumstances dictate your direction. What if there is something more for me? We always hear, well, you only live once. You only die once. You only die once. So what are you going to do while you're here living?
If you love Bob Proctor's work, but you're done with inspiration alone and ready for application, if you've spent money on programs that didn't stick, coaches who didn't care, or you're wondering if big success maybe just isn't for you, this is your time, and Brian and Cory are your people. You can keep circling the same goals, consuming content, hoping the next thing will click, or you can say, enough. I'm done waiting, and I'm going to step over the line.
Hi there, my name is Trace Haskins, and I am the COO of Proctor's Principles. I'm the lucky guy behind the scenes who gets to help Brian Proctor and his wife, Cory Kelly Proctor, and our dear friend, Tommy Collier, connect with you so that you can live a life that you love. I've got a very special session in store for you today, and this is going to be what I'm calling a magical mashup of some of the absolute best moments from our Proctor's Principles calls that I know are going to help you get from point A to point B and even to point Z, all right? We are spiritual beings having a human experience here on the planet in this lifetime. And, years ago, I heard that as a cute idea, but now with some experimentation, I really know that to be the truth. One of the things that Bob Proctor always said is when you hear the truth, you will know it. It will resonate with you. What Brian and Cory and Tommy and myself have to share with you today, we know this to be the truth for ourselves, and we invite you to reflect as you listen today, is this true for me? Ask yourself, is this true for me? Our soul came into this lifetime with a bit of spiritual baggage, and other humans in our lifetime, so far, bless them, have given us some human baggage as well that we call paradigms and programs and conditioning and beliefs and habits. And this game of life, we have come to find, is becoming aware of our baggage and even saying thank you to the baggage for the lessons that it's brought us, and then letting it go, right? When we let go of who we think we are, when we let go of who we think other people think we are, when we let go of who the world tells us so convincingly we are, as we let all of that go, we move through a 3-phase process. All right, there's 3 phases here. Phase 1 is an identity shift. Right, we move through an identity upgrade. Phase number 2 is all about clarity. Clarity about who we are, why we're here, and what we really, really want. Like, what do we want this experience of life to be like? Okay, that's phase 2. Phase 3 is all about embodiment. It's embodiment of our new identity upgrade, an embodiment of the clarity about why we're here and what we want to be up to while we're here. When we embody that, magic unfolds, all right? So these 3 phases, okay, this is how we release overwhelm. This is how we suffer less. This is how we observe challenges and frame them as opportunities. And this is also how we really start to enjoy ourselves and enjoy our lives and enjoy each other in such beautifully rewarding ways. All right, life can be so, so good. We are here to help you be the star in your own movie. Have you been living as a star, or have you been treating yourself like an extra in your life? Any extras out there? So think about that. Really reflect on that as we dive in. And this first clip is going to touch on phase number 2, clarity. And it's going to be really looking at this question, what do you really want? What are you trading your life for? Are you operating from possibilities and potential, or are you operating from past circumstances and limitations? So I really want you to listen to this right now, okay? Enjoy this first clip.
When I think about what I want and we start letting ourselves dream big, I think back to when I was young and going to my father's seminars. I used to go to, he had a seminar called the Goal Achiever Seminar. And man, that was my favorite seminar when I was young because it really got me clear on what I wanted. And it gave me permission to dream big because when we let ourselves dream big, man, oh man, stuff will start to happen. So I want to read, I read this to you before, and I've come to the conclusion that we can never hear this kind of stuff often enough. I went to these darn seminars of my father's since I was a little kid. I started going to these things when I was young enough. They were always held in the evenings when I was young. And I was young enough that after the first break, it would be like 9 o'clock at night, and these things would go till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I would crawl underneath the table and go to sleep. So that's how long I'd been going to seminars. And I think I can officially claim that I've probably been to more Bob Proctor seminars than anybody else on this planet. I really think I can actually claim that. And I heard my father say the same thing over and over and over again. Here's the interesting thing. I never got tired of it because every time I was hearing it, I was kind of in a different place and I would see it from a different place and I could use it from a different place. In the very beginning of My Father Knew the Secret, I want you to really listen to this because this is today's lesson. Under consider, if all your past experiences make you who you are today, then who would you be if you forgot your past and started in a new place? What if the only thing you knew was that you could be, do, or have anything you truly desired? What would you want to be, do, or have? And what will happen in your life if you show up as the best version of yourself? I want you to think about that. If you showed up today and what if the only thing you knew, you forgot who you were, you forgot your past. We let our past, we let our history dictate where we move forward more than we should. What we did yesterday was what we did yesterday. That does not have to dictate how we are going to be today or even what we want today. So I'm not going to ask you if you've got your goals and stuff yet. That'll be next week. Here's what I want to ask you, and I want to challenge you with whatever your goal is it truly big enough for you? Are you really opening yourself up? And are you saying, God, what would I really like? What would I really like? And it all starts with desire. My father always said, you need to have a desire for something bigger than you are. And that will enable you to build a bigger life. And you don't need to believe, quite frankly, in your desire in the beginning. In the beginning, a desire is just that. It's a desire. Your belief will start to take hold if you allow it to take hold. Desire is not a weak wish. Desire is a spiritual seed. It's a spiritual seed. It is the life force within you seeking fuller expression. Desire is not something you choose. It is something that calls you. What do you think about that? And your job is to listen. So let's begin with what desire really is and what it isn't. Desire is not wanting what someone else has or chasing approval. It is not setting out to prove something, and it is not a quick emotional win. Desire is deeper. It comes from within you, not from outside influences or expectations. Desire is the internal fire that says, I know I am meant for more. I think we all know that. I can see myself living at a higher level. I feel called to express more of who I truly am. Desire is life-seeking expression and expansion through you. That's what my father taught. And I put here, Dad had a quote that he would often say, you wouldn't desire it if you weren't capable of doing it. That's the deal. What do you really desire? What do you want? And let things off. Start to dream. In the Goal Achiever seminar, he would have us take gosh, it felt like an eternity. It's probably 20 minutes, but it felt like a long time, when you're just staring at a piece of paper at a table with a bunch of people. And he would have us just start to write out all the things we wanted. And I can remember clearly thinking, well, I don't want somebody else to see this. They might think I'm nuts, or they might think he doesn't want very much. He should want more. And so I was always secretive to it. I tried to hide it. And I've come to realize as I've aged a little bit more here, who cares? I don't care what anybody else thinks any longer. It really doesn't matter. It's your desire. What do you desire? And so we would sit there for 20 minutes and we'd have a piece of paper and we just started writing out our dreams. What would we like? If you can think it, you can have it. You really can. You might not know how yet. That doesn't matter. That part we're going to deal with in coming weeks. Right now, what I want you to think about is, what would you really like for your life? How would you like things to be? And start to write out those dreams, those things that are a spark. You can't desire it if you can't have it. So if you can think it, it could be the craziest thing that you may find. If you can think it, it will happen for you. It can happen for you. Your belief will catch up to your desire. When I first started writing out some of these things, in the beginning, I did not believe that it was possible. And here's the important thing I learned, is that is okay. That's okay. This lesson is all about what you want. You don't have to worry about if you believe you can have it or do it or whatever that is. Let the belief part out right now. Just start to think, what would you really want? If you could have anything, what would that be? If you could be anything, who would that be? And really start to think about that. Your belief will catch up to the desire. It's desire that needs to take place before belief can even come into play. Here's the thing that I have learned over my lifetime. Nothing happens until you make a decision. But to make a decision, you have to know what you want. It's impossible to make a decision if you don't really know what you want. So right now, I'm not even going to ask you to make a decision. What I want you to do, even if you've got a goal, even if you've got a vision board, how can you up-level it a little bit? How can you dream a little bit more? How can you make it a little bit bigger? Because if you can dream it, you can have it. Here's the thing. So often we get caught up in our limiting beliefs or what we think others think of us and what we can do, and we let that dictate what we want. That's the mistake. Go to a quiet place and think, what would I really want? So many times when we start to think about what we want, we have to take the cap off. We have to allow ourselves to dream. And Tommy, I am forever going to thank you for this exercise because, man, this opened up the property next door to us as well. I will tell you that. So at dinner the first night, I think it was, at dinner, Tommy brings out a money clip with $5 million in it, and he gives it to everybody. And he says, all your expenses are taken care of. You have no crazy needs. Everything's dealt with. So you don't need it to deal with day-to-day stuff. And he's just giving you $5 million, and you need to spend it tonight. What would you spend it on? What would you spend it on? That's a great way to start opening yourself up to your list. What would you want? What do you really want? And so, we were all kind of caught off guard. I'd never had an exercise like that before. I thought, man, my father would have loved this exercise, Tommy. And we started thinking about it, and we started coming up with our things, and we all had to announce at the table what we would do with our $5 million. And it was kind of fun. And that was good. It was a good exercise. Well, the next day, Tommy's like, okay, you got another $5 million. Now what are you going to do? Man, what would I do again? And it opens you up for more. That's what you want to start doing. You want to start dreaming. Start dreaming and start dreaming big. Maybe 5 million is a small number. Maybe it's a big number. It's just all relative. It's all relative. It could be 50 million if you want. It could be 100 million. It doesn't really matter. The key is this. Allow yourself to dream. Allow yourself to dream big. Don't worry about, do you believe you can do it? That's what most people in life do. We're coming into a new year. Man, oh man, this is like, I don't think we could have structured these lessons at a better time than they are right now. And right now is the time to start dreaming big. 2026, it can truly be the best year you have ever had in your life. Now, here's the deal. The best year of your life doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intention. So right now, I want you to take the lid off and start dreaming. What would that be?
So good, right? So what is your dream? Your desire is a spiritual seed. And if you dream it, you really can do it. Your belief will catch up with your desire. Okay, your belief it will catch up. All right? And you deserve to have anything that you want. I really want you to truly hear me when I say that. You deserve to have it. The thing is, nobody's going to give you permission to go for your dreams. Okay? You're the only one who can do that. We're here to give you permission to give yourself permission. All right? All you need to do is get in harmony with the good that you desire. Take a quick look at this post here from Tina inside our Proctor's Principles community. This is so beautiful. Now, I've personally known Tina probably for close to about 10 years now, and we work together in a few different ways, and she's a lovely lady from the UK. And she's had this big goal for quite some time to own a multi-million-dollar home. And within about a year or so of joining Proctor's Principles, she made it happen. Now, I want to make this clear. Tina made it happen, all right? It wasn't Brian, it wasn't Cory or Tommy or myself. It was Tina. And you can make your dreams happen too. We all have inside of us everything that we need. As Bob Proctor always said, our spiritual DNA is perfect. But the advantage of being part of a community like this and following a proven system like these 3 phases we're talking about, we get to see our goals and our issues and our paths in new ways. All right. Other people will show us what we're blind to on our own. And that's why this is really magical work. And I venture to say that's partly why Tina finally made it happen. All right. Tina got in harmony with her desire, and you can too. All right. So look at this right here. Okay. Spiritual wisdom says that, and in physics, actually, it also says that the good that you desire is already here. It exists on a frequency. Bob Proctor said this all the time, all right? So here's you right here in physical form, all right? This is you in your physical form, in your physical body. You are a spirit that is occupying a body, okay? Your spirit is flowing to and through you. And the things that you desire, the experiences that you desire, they're operating on a frequency, okay? So let's say that these are the frequencies. This is the energy that's flowing around you where your desire is. It exists here. Bob Proctor used to say, there is a place, all right? This is the frequency that your desires are on. But if you're not on that frequency, okay, let's say that you have some fear, doubt, worry, and disbelief, or maybe you're trying to force your way to your goal instead of allowing it to flow to you through the law of attraction, law of vibration, naturally, then what's going to happen is this energy, it's going to be flowing all around you. It's like a Wi-Fi signal. It's flowing around you. It's here. It's like right within your reach, but it's flowing around you, okay? What you want it to do is flow to and through you. Flow to and through. You want it to not go around you anymore. You want it to go to and through you. But you cannot get it to flow to and through you until you put your mind and your heart into the spirit of the frequency. Okay, when you do that, when you get your mind, your heart, and your soul in coherence, then it has no choice but to flow to and through you. All right. When you follow a proven set of principles like what we have in Proctor's Principles and with these 3 phases, you finally get onto that frequency. And bam, all right, the energy flows to and through. Tina is a great example of this with her house. All right. So this is the game of life. And Brian and Cory are so good at showing you how to play it and showing you how to get what you want. And again, it's not about the goal of the achievement of the goal and having the things. It's about who you become in the process. And It's about having you experience what you really want to experience. All right. To do that, you have to become the person who can have the things. Okay. You have to be the persons and you have to do the things and operate on the frequency so that you can have the things and the experiences. That is a sequence, right? So the framework that Brian and Cory have created inside Proctor's Principles, it walks you through these 3 phases. And in this next clip, Brian is going to talk about phase 1, and he's going to talk about your identity upgrade, and he's going to demonstrate how he did it personally. And he's going to talk about one final lesson that his dad taught him before he passed on. Check this out and let this one really stick with you because this is a huge key.
Now, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what's happened to me in the last 2 years and what one of the secrets for me is. And this is a secret that I hope you'll take to heart because I promise you it has changed my life. I would never expect that I would be sitting here with you today with close to 1,000 people on a Zoom call sharing my story. If you know me, this was not something that I was going to do. And I share this with you because of this secret that I learned from my father. One of the things he said to me, he says, Brian, keep talking to me. Keep talking to me when I'm gone. And listen for the answer. Go to a quiet place, ask me questions, and listen for the answers. And those answers will come to you. And those answers, we call that intuition. Now, intuition is one of our spiritual faculties, and it's perfect. I actually wrote something here. It says intuition is a spiritual faculty, and it does not explain, but simply points the way. So here's one of the secrets that I have learned. I have learned to follow my intuition perfectly. It has not always been easy, but I have followed it to a T. And I have done that because of what my father shared with me. He said, go to a quiet place and talk to me and listen for the answers. Now, I choose to let those answers, I picture them as him speaking to me. Whether it is or isn't, it doesn't really matter. But those answers, that's my intuition speaking to me. And here's the thing I have learned to do, and I challenge you to start to think about, is follow your intuition. What does your intuition tell you to do? We all have dreams. We all have things we want to do in this world. And if we were to follow our intuition perfectly, my God, I tell you, your life will change. So in the last 2 years, I have followed my intuition. I have listened to what it said. I've gone to quiet places. I've got a couple of quiet places here in the house that I go to, that I sit quietly and I ask questions. I talk with my father. I have a trigger for me that always says if Dad's around, that's a hummingbirds. And if I see a hummingbird around, I instantly just start talking to my father. It's just a trigger for me. Yesterday, I was sitting down here at my desk, and I was looking out the window, and I was having just a quiet conversation with Dad, basically getting, I guess, in tune and in flow for what I was going to share with you today and what message could potentially help you live a better life. And as I was thinking, looking out my window, the craziest thing happened. A hummingbird landed on a little branch right outside my window and looked in. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. It was just the most incredible thing. You know, normally I see them hovering around the flowers and stuff, but to see it actually sit on a branch and looking in the window at me was truly incredible. And so I do feel that intuition, you know, they say intuition is God speaking to us. Intuition is spirit speaking to us. For me, that's my Father. It's God. It's that the universe. It's just pure, clean energy. And here's the interesting thing that I've learned in the last 2 years is that I have listened to my intuition and I've followed it. How many times have we listened to our intuition that says, oh, I should do this, but I can't do that because of that, and you don't do it? And boy, you look back on it and you regret it and think, oh boy, would my life have been different if I had done that? How many other times have you been offered to do something or asked to do something and you thought, oh, I shouldn't really do that, but you do it because you're kind of pressured into it, peer pressure, whatever it is. And you do it, but you shouldn't, and you live to regret it. That's our intuition speaking. And we all have intuition. Some of us have a higher evolved sense of intuition, others don't. But here's the cool thing. We can all develop our intuition, and it's done simply by this: going to a quiet place, getting yourself into a peaceful state. You close your eyes and then just start asking questions. And those answers will come to you. They'll come to you in your intuition. And here's the thing I learned. What happens when intuition comes to us is, I often think of those cartoons, when we were young, the old cartoons that they had an angel and a devil on your shoulders, one saying, do it, don't do it, don't do it. And you have all these voices coming at you. It's our paradigms. It's our old programming. That's what comes into us after that intuitive hit comes. We feel that need for something, or we want to do something. We feel we need to do this, but all the reasons why we can't start coming. What you have to realize is that's our paradigms. That's our conditioning. That's our way that we have been letting us control whatever's coming down. If we can get the courage of strength, the courage of choice, and listen to what that intuition is telling us and follow it, your life will never be the same. I cannot drive that home strong enough. And I say that because I am living it. The last 2 years, I have done things that have been incredibly uncomfortable. Cory will be able to attest to this, but I have done it because I have followed my intuition, and I don't let the nonsense chatter dictate whether I do it or not. I just do it. I have done things that have caused people very close to me to almost look at me like I'm a little bit crazy, and that's okay, because this is what I've realized. That's their stuff. I don't need to take it on. And realize that when you start following your intuition and you live from that place and don't let our nonsense and our old paradigms, our old habits control how we're going to live from this moment on, your life will never be the same. Now, that's something really big that I learned from my father. And if there's anything, that is a lesson that he drove home to me at the end, probably stronger than anything. So while I say I think the biggest secret is a way of being, I certainly think it is. But I know for a fact that for me personally, listening and following my intuition has been my secret, because I have done things in the last 2 years. I'll share them with you now. I finished the book, My Father Knew the Secret. Cory and I released it almost a year ago. We thought when we released the book, we're done. Got the message out there. I wanted to share my story, what it was like growing up with Bob Proctor. And I thought, yeah, it's going to take care of itself. That's not the case. I started getting requests to go on podcasts, to go on stage and speak, to do things that, quite frankly, made me unbelievably uncomfortable. And my intuition told me I needed to do these things, so I did them. It was uncomfortable. I stepped out of my comfort zone. That was one of the big secrets. I was able to step out of my comfort zone because I knew it was required. My intuition told me I had to do this. Because I did it, it opened me up to a whole new audience. And the book started to sell like crazy. And it did really, really well. And it was a really interesting experience. Now, here's the thing that I've really learned, is that by keep stepping into that uncomfortable place, we eventually become comfortable with it. A year ago, I would have never thought I'd be sitting here with you all today on this Zoom call, sharing this message. Quite frankly, I would have been terrified. I'm not sure if I would have been very effective with anything I would be saying. But because I was willing to keep stepping into that uncomfortable place, I got more comfortable with it. And I'm very, very comfortable being here today. I realize I'm no Bob Proctor. But here's the thing, and this is what I always learn from Dad. I'm Brian Proctor. I'm my own self. And you are your own self. We all have powers. We are all capable of so much more. I don't care where you're at in life. If you're down low right now or if you're up super high, it can always be better. Dad always said from the stage, better is a good thing. We can all be better. Doesn't matter where we're at. And step out, get out of your comfort zone. Start learning more about yourself and what you're capable of, and step into what you want to do, and do it from that place of being centered and feeling good.
All right, so intuition is such a big deal. One of my favorite Bob Proctor quotes of all time is, breakthroughs are made by violating logic. When your intuition speaks to you, it speaks from a larger truth that your mind can't comprehend usually, okay? Your intuition whispers and you feel it in your body, okay? Your intuition, you know what? I'm going to use some yellow here to represent the intuition. The intuition is here. You're going to feel it in your body. Okay, you're going to feel it in your body. It whispers. This is how you distinguish between your mind and your intuition. Albert Einstein had said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant, all right? And that he also said that we've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift, all right? So has society trained you to ignore your gift and to only listen to your mind? Your mind is beautiful and your mindset is critically important. And all of your mental faculties, they play their part. But part of this, identity upgrade shift, this phase one that we have in store for you, is to learn to balance when to listen to your mind, okay, and when you listen to your heart and your body. You need to learn how to listen to them differently. Magical things happen for you when you do this. For me, it's helped me to manifest relationships, homes, cars, even my 2 kids, all right? Despite my wife and I both receiving infertility diagnosis, we have 2 beautiful kids now. My intuition also helped me to enjoy some final moments with 2 of my brothers who have already passed on. They passed on quite early in their lives. And they ended up passing away shortly after I had this intuitive pull to take some action. And that action also included going to see them. And it even led me to here, right, to working with Brian and Cory and Tommy and now you. All right. So I invite you right now to decide to master the skill of intuition. I really look at intuition as like a muscle. All right. You can train it. You can make it strong. And you are guaranteed to do that with Proctor's principles and within these 3 phases. All right. Intuition is so much about what this game of life is about. So like Brian asked earlier, if you forgot who you were, who could you be? All right, I'm paraphrasing what he said a little bit, but if you forgot who you were, who could you be? Phase 1 of your quantum leap is your identity upgrade. All right, we're going to strip away all of the ideas and beliefs and habits that aren't really you, okay, that you've picked up along the way. And we're going to replace them with ideas, beliefs, and habits that are in harmony with your higher self. Okay, and when we do that, spirit, baby, it's flowing to and through, and your aura is just expanding and it's interacting with the field and it's lovely. All right. So part of this is building your intuitive muscle. That's a big, big, big part of it. So in the world of Arnold, we are going to pump you up. Okay. All right. Now, phase 3 of this beautiful process is called embodiment. We've talked about that a little bit before. And to put that simply, when you become one with your higher self and you become one with the principles, you really become one with your desires. You have that ability. You have that muscle to do that. And one ingredient of embodiment is having total control over your vibration and your attitude. All right. In this next clip, Brian is going to share about his dad's final moments on how even then he embodied his highest self. And this is such an inspiring example of how you can face any challenge and still get what you want, minimizing pain and suffering and living the best life that you can right now. And then after that little clip, Brian's wife, Cory, is going to come on as well. And she's going to share how Bob helped her live the life that she was meant to live and that she'd been unconsciously blocking. All right, really soak this one in.
My father, when he was passing away, when he was in his last couple of months of life, was not in a great place. He was in a lot of pain. He had several infections. He had a lot going on, a lot of pain in his body. And he was not in a great place. I was very, very fortunate. Cory and I basically, we talked about it, and I really wanted to spend as much time as I could with Dad, and she was in complete agreement. And I spent much of the last 6 months of his life up in Toronto, just helping Dad, helping Linda, do whatever I could, and just to be there for Dad. Well, at the very end, Dad was in the intensive care unit in the hospital in Toronto. And when you're in the intensive care unit, I think, things aren't great. There's really only two ways to get out of the intensive care unit. You either get better or you pass away. And Dad knew he wasn't getting better. So when I think of that situation and I think to how he talked, that we cannot let our current circumstance or outside conditions control our thinking. What better example than when he was in the hospital at the ICU? I remember sitting with him beside the bed, and we would just hold hands. We would hold hands for hours upon hours. And Dad was, in and out of consciousness. He would fall asleep. He'd wake up. When he was awake, he was in a fair bit of pain, but they were medicating that, so he was doing pretty good. And, he never let his outside circumstance or condition, even at that time, dictate how he behaved. And I'll give you an example of that. One of the nurses came in and she had to put in another IV into him. He had all kinds of, tubes and stuff coming out of him. And this nurse came in. It was probably 7 or 8 in the evening. It was fairly late. And she was working and she just kept putting a needle in, and she couldn't find a vein. It just wasn't working. And she was getting stressed. You could see her energy. She was getting very agitated. And I remember sitting in that room and hearing other people in other rooms screaming and yelling at the nurses and doctors. And I get it. When I was watching this happen, I can understand why people can get a little agitated. But here's what happened with my father. He looked at that nurse. She kept apologizing. He looked at her, and then he put his hand over top of her hand. And he just looked her in the eyes and he says, "Don't worry, dear, you're doing an amazing job. You just do whatever you need to do. It's all okay." And in that instant, he calmed her down. And her calmness showed. Her whole body relaxed. And when her whole body relaxed, the next time she went, bang, she got the vein and it was all done. It is amazing how my father could touch that nurse in a moment of time when he could have been agitated, been grumpy. He chose to not let his outside circumstance or condition dictate the way he was going to behave and the way he was going to treat that nurse. There's a lesson there. How many times do we have situations in our life where we have maybe a spouse, maybe a child, a parent, somebody do something that agitates us, and we jump out and we say something or do something that we might regret later? This is a situation where you can think, I am not going to let my outside circumstance or condition dictate how I am going to behave. It makes no difference where you are in life to make a decision on where you want to go in life. That was a big thing that Dad was always about. And it's really important. And it comes back to that. It does not matter what your current circumstance or outside conditioning is dictating. You have the ability of choice to live the way you want to live. And we don't have to let our current way of living affect that. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't affect us somewhat because we're living in it. But we have the power of thought to get ourselves out of it. And I think back to everything I heard about my father before I was born. And this is a great example. Dad was living in a state when he was in his early 20s where he wasn't living a great life. He wasn't living the person that you know of, Bob Proctor. He was bouncing from job to job, wasn't quite sure what to do. And it wasn't until, as Tommy mentioned, in October of 1961 that a very special man, Ray Stanford, gave Dad the book, Think and Grow Rich. And he told my father, if you study this book every day, it will change your life. And that's what Dad did. He started to study that book and he started to change his life. And he didn't let his outside circumstance or his environment control where he was going to go. And he changed his life really dramatically, very, very quickly. So he's a great example of living that. So for all of you, if you have big dreams and you're not seeing any physical manifestation of it yet, allow that physical manifestation to start in your thoughts and in your heart, because that's where it begins. Now, Dad always said, what are you trading your life for? We're trading our life for something. Every day, we're trading our life for something. Are you trading it for something of value? Or are you going after something you really want? Or are you just living day by day? Tommy, can we spotlight Cory and bring her on for a second?
Absolutely. Come on down, Cory.
Cory and I were talking this morning, and she had something of real value that I thought would really, I think you'll all relate to. So, Cory, can you share what we talked about earlier today?
Yeah, well, now I know why you wanted me to share this story. Brian asked me to talk today about a conversation that I had had with his father. And it was all around the question, what do I really want? So I didn't grow up with Bob Proctor. I was never asked, what do I want? Or told that I could be, do, or have what I wanted in life. So this conversation with Bob was a pivotal point for me. And I remember it like it was yesterday because it really was an emotional impact. It was just the two of us having dinner in a restaurant at the Prince Hotel in Toronto. And it was after the end of a very full day of training. And it was this restaurant that kind of opened up onto the lobby and people were walking around. And I noticed everybody noticing him, but he didn't. You know, he was just fully engaged with me. And really, my heart was just so touched that Bob had asked me to have dinner with him tonight, just the two of us, because I saw him in the room that day. I saw how hard he had worked with hundreds of people, you know, just really helping people to understand and teach. And honestly, he deserved a break, but that wasn't Bob. He saw an opportunity to help me and to make a difference. And so that's what he did. And that's why this conversation was so pivotal for me. So when Bob asked me that question at dinner, what do I want? I literally didn't have an answer. And that was a big realization. You know, in my mind, I was thinking, I have no idea. You know, like a lot of people, I was just mindlessly doing the next thing expected of me in every part of my life. I was a single mom with 2 kids, just doing my best. I wasn't using my imagination. I didn't even really understand how to use my imagination. I wasn't creating anything different from what I was doing. And I certainly didn't understand what it meant to create something different. So at that dinner, you know, I had no problem telling Bob what I didn't want, which of course he was not interested in hearing. And I remember him saying to me at that moment, anything coming out of your mouth after but is a circumstance. You are letting your circumstances dictate your direction. So sitting at that table, just the two of us, and him asking me that question was really uncomfortable. I knew I was stuck and I knew there was no way out. I was at this table. So I really made a decision right there to get serious about doing the work, to change my thinking, and to recognize when I was in these thought patterns. And Bob knew me well enough by then that he knew it needed to begin with a strong affirmation, because a lot of my thinking was around a need I had to control my environment. And I know this came from a series of circumstances throughout my life, but where it came from, it didn't matter. What mattered is that it was holding me back, because by holding so tightly to everything, I was blocking any good that I desired or deserved. And, Bob, of course, recognized this. And so right then, right there, he created this affirmation for me that I'm going to share with you. I am so happy and grateful now that I let everything in my life flow free and easy, and I focus only on what serves me toward my greater good. Let me say it again. I am so happy and grateful now that I let everything in my life flow free and easy, and I focus only on what serves me toward my greater good. Well, I became very disciplined about using this affirmation. I wrote it out each morning and at night. I wrote the word let on Post-it notes and I stuck them everywhere. This affirmation was always at the forefront of my mind. And to be honest with you, it still is. I still use it every day. I still write it out because the results that I got, it was like witnessing a miracle. So let me tell you what this affirmation did for me. It created a pause in my life. And with that pause, with me not trying to control everything, I began receiving in unexpected ways. And I was able to recognize and act on new opportunities. And it really created a calmness in my mind and in my heart. And honestly, I felt like a better person. I felt more in control, which is ironic since I was trying to control everything. Because with this new space created, I had room to think. And I could start thinking about that question. What do I really want? And so the first question I asked myself was, what if there is something more for me? And I sat quietly and I allowed myself to imagine outside of my current reality. And this was not easy for me at first. Honestly, I felt foolish, but slowly it became fun. I looked forward to my scheduled times that I would do this, where I would sit quietly and ask myself that question. And I opened myself up to imagining things that honestly felt crazy. But here's the crazy part. Things started to change. With this new mindset, things really started to change. My life started to change. I got clear on a direction and I started saying yes to things that before I was automatically saying no to. And instead of asking myself, can I do this? I started asking myself, what if I don't do this? Will I regret it? This is my one beautiful life. How did I want to live it? Bob gave me this necklace. It has an exclamation point in it, a diamond exclamation point. It's quite beautiful. He loved the exclamation point. To him, it was definitive. I'm sure you've heard him talk about it from the stage. This I will do. And I wear it to remind me of that strength, because it took strength and discipline to really get serious and start living these new principles without wavering. And when I did, my life expanded, and it was scary and wonderful at the same time. And honestly, it still is. I mean, just look at me now. I'm terrified. But I also hear Bob in my ear saying, Cory, stop worrying about what other people are thinking about you. You have no idea how what you have to say could help someone else. This is why we are here, to share our stories so others can learn. We are here to provide value. And that is what this masterclass is about. So back to you.
I'm so glad that Cory came on to share that. I first off, ladies in the room, how many of you can relate to that? I have a feeling there's a lot of you. Um, I think the women in our lives are trying to make sure everything gets done, everything's done right, and I don't think they put enough focus on themselves. I think a lot of you ladies are putting the focus on making sure everybody else is taken care of. Um, and I think what Cory really got out of that was that she learned to take care of herself a little bit more as well. And that's a good thing, that her dreams matter. And so I want all of you to know your dreams matter and we need to go after these things. We are living in this life and we can live day to day, getting through our day to day, or we can start dreaming, what do I really want for my life? And what can I do today to get me one step closer to that dream? That's all it takes. It is that simple. It really is that simple. When you find that magical something that inspires you, that's when you'll get out of your own way. And that's when you will start doing the things you know already how to do. It's so important. Um, and I'm going to say I'm not perfect at this. I'll go back just a few years. Um, Cory and I were living in Florida at the time, and we had a dream of this home in the Pacific Northwest on the ocean. And God, I can remember he came down to Florida to visit us. And Dad and I went out for breakfast or lunch. It was maybe a brunch between a breakfast and a lunch. And and we were sitting down and I was starting to talk to him about my goal. Dad was always that one I could share my goal with. And we had bought this property. The house that was on it was a little old. It needed a lot of work. But it's like literally 15 feet from the ocean. And the nature stuff here is just incredible. And I sat down with Dad and I started talking to him and he did his typical thing. He says, well, what do you really want, Brian? What do you want? I started sharing what I'd like to do. And I said, well, it'd be nice. Maybe we can renovate it, and I was being a bit of a fool. I was not living the material. I was getting caught up in the how can I do thing. And he stopped me and he said, Brian, what would you really like? And I said, well, if I'm to be really honest, I would like to tear the whole place down and build a beautiful new home right on that spot. And he says, well, why don't you do that? So I started thinking. Then I started saying, well, I guess I could if I did this. And maybe if I do that. And again, he stopped me and he says, Brian, he says, you don't need to figure out all the steps required to get there. All you need to know is that what you really want? And it was like that knock on the head. I've always known it. And I challenge all of you. We always know, but sometimes we get caught up in the weeds. And I was getting caught up in the weeds. I was getting caught up in the how. And he said, you don't need to know how you're going to do it. You just need to make a decision. Is that what you want to do? And if that's what you want to do, that's what you set your goal at. And then you start doing every day something to get you there. And you'll figure it out along the way. And it was such a simple thing. But it hit me. And it's not like this is the first time I ever heard it. I guess I was in my late 50s at that time. And so it's like I've been hearing this for a very long time. So I sat back and I looked at him and I can remember smiling at him with that knowing smile. And he had that little grin on me, like, you know better. And I made a decision at that moment that we were going to do this. And Cory and I didn't know how we were going to do it. But you know what? We were inspired by it. We knew that that's what we really wanted. We wanted to live in this kind of a place, in this kind of an environment. We didn't have a clue how we were going to get here. And it took us a few years for sure, but we did it. Now, here's the cool thing about setting big goals. getting or achieving that goal, that's great, but that's really just a reward. The big deal is in what you'll learn along the way. So often we get it twisted and confused. And I've heard so many people that get themselves almost in a negative way because, I'm not even anywhere close to my goal. And they're focused on that big thing. And it's like, it's not happening and they're getting frustrated. That's because all they're focused on is the goal. They're not focused on what can I do right now? If you get focused on what one thing can you do today to get you closer? I said this yesterday. Those small steps in 1 year equals 365 small steps. And believe you me, if you take care of a little thing today and keep doing that every single day, you are going to get to that lofty goal and you'll get there and you'll think, wow, how did I do this? And it is so much easier if we focus on the little thing today.
All right. Isn't that beautiful? We have this idea that our circumstances control our state of being, which controls our ultimate outcome. But that's truly a false illusion. Okay. When we embody the principles and live each day, even in the face of challenges, not being consumed and overwhelmed and navigating the seas with peace and clarity, life is so different. And it's just a shift in our mindset, which helps us shift into a new state of being. Okay. So in phase 1 of these principles, you get in harmony with who you really are and you unlock your unlimited potential. And then in phase 2, you get clear on who you want to be and what you want to do and have and give. And in phase 3, you show up every day in harmony and you embody and you attract like the massive force of nature that you are. All right. I really want you to feel that you are a massive, beautiful force of nature. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. All right. As Brian said, to do that, it's a step-by-step process. You just need to follow the breadcrumbs step by step by step. Brian also calls this the brick layers method. The brick layers, they build this beautiful brick house, one brick at a time. All right. Like Brian said, 365 days of these small steps, these one brick by brick by brick, it's going to lead to really big results. All right. Now, one of the big themes that Bob Proctor taught all of us is that the only prerequisite to having what we desired is answer one question. Do you want it? All right. Do you want it? That's it. You don't have to have a clear step-by-step path yet. You don't have to have anything except the desire. You just need to know down deep in your soul and in your heart, do I want this? If the answer is yes, if your heart wants it, if your soul wants it, then it's meant for you. Okay, it truly is meant for you. So in that case, just decide. Okay, decide, and the steps, brick by brick, will be revealed along the way. In this next clip, Cory and Brian are going to explain beautifully how to really make a decision that sticks. This is good.
The desire is telling you who you can become. It's not based on current circumstances. You don't have to know how you're going to get there. You don't have to be ready, and you don't have to feel confident. You just have to be willing to listen to your intuition and go. Willing to imagine, willing to let yourself want what you want without judging. And then one step at a time, you'll build the self-image that can match that desire.
Man, if you knew my father, he was like Mr. Decisive. He knew how to make decisions and he would roll with it. And he made his decisions without knowing everything that was required to make whatever his decision was about. And I think that is important. I see too many people that sit on the fence and they don't make decisions because they're weighing out all their options. They're trying to figure out what all they got to do. And, man, that's just, that's a recipe for disaster. That's the bottom line. So who here wants to make better decisions? All right. That's what I want to see. So here's the deal. Decisions are, they're actually easy to make when you do them with intention. When you think about what you're doing and you think about where you want to go, we've talked about what we want. We talked about goals. And when you make a decision to go for something without even knowing how you're going to do it, man, that is the first step. And that is the first step to gold. When you can make a decision towards something that this I am going to do without even knowing how you're going to do it, you are off to the races. And I tell you this, you're ahead of virtually everybody else out there. You really are. You are the only problem you will ever have. And he would say, and baby, you are the only solution. And that is it. You are the only solution. Quit looking to outside circumstance. Quit looking for the outside thing to make a difference for you. Where it starts here. It starts within you. Too many people are looking for their outside circumstance to change before they do anything. And it's pretty rare that it's going to change in any dramatic way. Things happen, and it might, but most often it doesn't. And people that wait for their circumstances to change are going to wait a long time. If you want your circumstances to change, make a decision about what you're going to do. And you just know you're going to do it, and then step into it and start moving into action. Because when you move into action, that's when your circumstance will change. It doesn't work the other way around. I see too many people waiting for things to get better before they do anything. And boy, you can wait a long time.
Man, that is so powerful. What do you really want? What are you trading your life for? I love these questions. Decide, okay? Decide, and the steps will reveal themselves. Now let's talk about something that we can let get in the way of our decisions, all right? I'm going to call these blocks, all right? And one of the things that can get in the way, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my experience, other people, right? Like maybe your husband or your wife or your parents, maybe your peers or maybe your friends or your boss or your kids or any of the powers that be. I'll let you fill those labels in. This has been a really big lesson for me because, especially in my marriage, my wife and I have always been very different people. We got married very young, and I find that there's kind of two contradictory ideas in the world. One idea says love is all you need, right? The other idea says love is not enough. And I find that the truth is actually somewhere in between. Love is always the answer, but it's got to be love for the other and for yourself, for you too. All right? Your joy and your happiness and the joy and happiness of the whole world and your partners and the people in your life, it starts with self-love. All right? When you love yourself, energy is physically able to flow to and through you without restriction. All right? If you don't have self-love, energy might be going around you or flowing in and then getting stuck, right? When you love yourself, energy is physically able, this is science, okay? It's physics. It's physically able to flow to and through you without restriction. And that will naturally have a positive effect on all of your relationships and everything in your life. All right? So listen to what Brian has to share about this, because this is really life-changing.
My father had a great concept around a spouse that was maybe negative, that wasn't supporting us. And I'm not going to ask for anybody to raise hands here. I know a few of you have that, and that's okay. Here's what Dad said, and it was kind of interesting. He said, if you're focused on what's negative about your spouse, you're actually being negative yourself. Think about that for a second. That can be a bit of a hard pill to swallow, but you're focused on your spouse's negativity. Now, I'm not going to say your spouse isn't negative, and I'm not going to say that doesn't happen, and it can hurt, but that's what you're putting focus on. Here's something that Dad suggested you do, and I really like this. He said, take some time and write out on a piece of paper all the positive qualities of your spouse, all the good things about them, and start to focus on that. And when you're with your spouse, start to share with them some of those positive qualities you see about them and see how they start to respond and react. Just start to do that. Do that as an experiment and see what happens. I promise you, things will start to change, and you're going to start to see your spouse in a different way. Sometimes it's our perspective that needs to be shifted. Our spouses are never going to be perfect. They'll never live up to exactly what we want because they're who they are. But you're with them for a reason. And enjoy the good qualities of who they are and look for the good qualities. Stop putting energy or giving energy to the negative. That's the first thing to do. My dad had a way of, I guess, segregating goals out. He called them A-type goals, B-type goals, and C-type goals. And he said an A-type goal is what most people have. And that's a goal that we already know how to do, how to achieve. We just do this and do this. We're going to get there. He said there's no inspiration in that because we already know how to do it. Unfortunately, that's what most people have set for goals. He said B-type goals are goals that are going to be a little more challenging, but you already know that if you put this together and you go out and do that, and you maybe pull in this person to help you with this, you'll get there. Maybe a little bit more inspiring because it's a little tougher, and it may be a little bigger, but still not inspiring enough to cause us to do the things that we wouldn't normally do. That is what he liked to call a C-type goal that really inspires us. So I challenge you, especially today after this session, to sit down and think, what really inspires you? What do you want to go after? When you can find what triggers you, what will cause you to do the uncomfortable, what will cause you to get out of your own way, that's when you know you've got a worthy goal. And don't compare your goal to anybody else's or what anybody else is doing. Comparison is the thief of joy. Now, here's an interesting thing I have learned. I'm chasing some pretty big goals. I'm doing some things that, quite frankly, I never thought I would have been doing. Being here with you right now, I would have never dreamed I'd be doing this. I've got big goals, and I've got what I consider really good reasons for why I'm doing it. It feels right for me. I've got people close to me looking at me like I'm nuts. Why are you doing this? You don't have to do this. You could go out fishing. You could go out kayaking. You don't have to work as hard as you're working. And they try to berate me for it. What that is they're just showing me their stuff. And you want to realize when somebody cuts you down, they're showing you their stuff. We don't have to take that on. Let that be that. Let that be them.
So this was such a big lesson for me. All right. I now let my wife's baggage be my wife's baggage, and I let my baggage be my baggage, and hopefully thank it and then set it free and release it. And if I can help my wife or other people in my life with their baggage and they want me to help them do that, then I do that. All right. Otherwise, I must let that journey be their journey, not take that journey on for myself. All right. Same thing with family members, friends, clients, business associates, everybody. When our intuition pulls us, we can invite people in, and we cannot, however, force them into it. We can invite them into conversations, invite them into transformation, invite them into different perceptions and playing the game with us together, but we can't force them into it. All right. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. And that is okay. Become okay with that. All right. This is really part of phase 3, which is called leading the way. Phase 3, it's all about embodiment, and part of the embodiment is leading the way, being the star of your own movie and letting other people be the stars of their movies and playing accompanying roles in each other's movies. But for you and your movie and your life, really leading the way. All right. Next, Cory is going to talk about one of life's paradoxes. We're here to experience joy and to not take ourselves or the world too seriously, because sometimes we take things way too seriously. Anybody resonate with that? Now, at the same time, Bob Proctor would say, quit screwing around. This is your life. All right. I can hear him shout that from the stage in the beautiful way that he would do that. And some people believe that we only have one bite at the apple and that's it. Other people believe that we come back and we experience multiple lifetimes. Either way, this lifetime, right here, right now, the one that you're living, the one that we're here together inside of right now, I believe that there is a purpose to it. All right. And I believe that we should strip back the layers of limitation. And trust me, we really can strip back these layers no matter how long we've been living inside this suit of limitation and lack and whatever the experience has been. We can strip these layers away. I'm not going to strip right now, but you get the idea. We can strip these layers away and we can let ourselves and let each other truly live. One of the essays that we love to study in Proctor's Principles is Entering into the Spirit of It by Thomas Troward. And one of the sentences in that essay is, life is in the livingness. All right, we got to live. That's what we're here for. All right, so Cory agrees with this. Go ahead and have a listen to this. And then after Cory comes on, Brian's going to come back on again and introduce you to Tommy, who has something really exciting to share with you as well. So check this out.
We always hear, well, you only live once. You only die once. You only die once. So what are you going to do while you're here living? Are you going to stay there in your comfort zone, even if it's not serving you? Or are you going to take chances and go outside of that and do something big? Like Ricky moving to a new country. What am I waiting for? I keep dreaming about this life, sketching it out, what I'm going to do when. Why not now? And he just did it. And now Ricky is living his best life. He is living his best life because of that decision. I was that person. I don't have time. And really what I was saying is I haven't chosen a path. I haven't chosen a priority. By saying that, I don't have time means I'm too busy doing everybody else's stuff. I haven't decided what I want.
Most people, they hesitate. They don't listen to their intuition. They tell themselves, oh, I'll do it when I have more time or when I have more money, when things settle down. But let me tell you this, waiting is a decision too. It's a decision to stay the same. The most successful people in the world, they don't wait until they feel ready. They make the decision first, and then they figure it out. Is that you? When you fully commit, something amazing happens. The universe, man, it moves things in your favor. The right people show up, doors open, you start seeing opportunities that were there all along, but you couldn't recognize them because you weren't fully in it. So if you're at a crossroads, stop overthinking. Start deciding, because until you do, nothing changes. And this is your life. It's time to go all in. Listen to your intuition. Start to follow it. Do the things that you know you should be doing. Because I promise you, when you do, the world opens up and you can achieve some pretty incredible things. I see Jamie at 71, just got into her first home. At 71, it's never too late for anything. My father had worked in this industry for a long, long time. He was 72 years old before he really became known and really made a splash in this world. 72 years old. He knew it was going to happen. He didn't know when. What are you working towards? Are you working towards something really big? Do you want to work towards something really big? If you do, man, we want to work with you. We want to help you get whatever that is for you. So I'm going to throw this to Tommy. I want Tommy to share a little something with you that we're doing that I know will be a big benefit for you. I hope you'll take a good look at this, and I really hope that you'll join us. So Tommy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Brian. Okay, friends, I want to share a bit of my story with you because it's the reason that I know without question that this stuff works. As I shared earlier, I had the honor of working very closely with Bob Proctor as his creative director before he passed. But what most people don't know is that I became a student of Bob's long before I ever dreamed of going to work with him. It was at a moment when my life looked really good on the outside, but felt completely misaligned on the inside. Back in 2013, I walked away from what most people would call a dream career. I was working in television. I was earning a six-figure income, winning Emmys, respected, secure, and deeply unfulfilled. I didn't feel free. I didn't feel in control of my life. I knew deep down that I wasn't living on purpose. So I resigned and I went all in on building my own creative business. And as you might think, that freedom would have fixed everything, but it didn't. Instead, I found myself in a cycle of burnout, just again and again, only this time with no stability, full responsibility, and very slow incremental growth. And now here's what's important to understand. I thought that I was studying personal development at that time because I was listening to things like Wayne Dyer and Abraham and Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay. But I wasn't studying success. I wasn't setting goals. I wasn't following a system. My vision, vague. My growth, random. My results reflected that too. And so fast forward to 2016, and that is when Bob Proctor entered my life. And what he gave me, it wasn't just motivation, it wasn't just inspiration, it was structure. Bob taught me something that changed everything. Consuming content without a framework, it feels really good. It can feel great, right? But studying with a system, that is what changes results. For the first time in my life, I learned how to set big and specific goals, study with repetition and purpose, follow a step-by-step framework that was grounded in universal laws as well. And my results began to change fast, okay? Within a few short months of applying Bob's principles exactly as taught, something really deep shifted. I shed my old identity, the people-pleasing, self-doubting version of me, and I stepped into a version of myself that I had never experienced before. It was at that time also that I decided to totally reinvent my business and focus on headshot photography. I committed fully to that, and I applied Bob's principles to my new venture every single day. Now, within 6 months, my studio, it was absolutely booming with headshot business, from 0 to 30,000 a month, every month, after just 6 months of applying Bob Proctor's principles. And that wasn't a lucky break. You know what that's called? That's called a paradigm shift. And once your paradigm changes, you don't go backward. And my income has just continued to increase. Now, the framework that I followed then is the same framework inside Proctor's principles, except now it is even more refined. It's more complete and more powerful thanks to the decades of lived wisdom and real-world application from Brian and Cory. So when I tell you this program works, I'm not guessing, I'm not hoping, I'm telling you that when you follow these principles in the prescribed order, with repetition and aligned action, results are inevitable. This is not entertainment. This is not just motivation. This is transformation by law. And that's why Brian and Cory asked me to share this here today. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to take a few minutes here to show you how a paradigm shift like mine can happen for you as well. If that's okay with you, if you're ready for real, measurable change, this is the way, my friends. So keep watching. All right, now remember how Brian told you about Valerie, our client Valerie? Well, she knew this material. She'd studied it for years, but she couldn't make it stick until she changed her environment. Well, is it okay if we talk about your environment, your future, really quick? Here's the thing. Some of you watching right now, you are Valerie. Not the Valerie who joined Proctor's principles, the Valerie who was stuck, okay? You've probably been studying this material for years, maybe decades. You have read Think and Grow Rich. You have watched all of Bob's videos on YouTube. You watch and come to things like this. You have stacks of notes, okay? You have felt deeply inspired, but you're still here. You're still trying to figure out how to get over there, where all of your goals and dreams are. Yeah, you're still searching. Now, I'm not saying this to shame you. God, no. I'm saying it because I've seen this pattern repeat for years. Thousands of people, smart, capable, good-hearted people exactly like you. In many ways, I was that person too. Most of them understand these principles, or they think that they do, but they could probably explain them to someone else, but they weren't living them. The results were not showing, okay? The reason wasn't effort, it wasn't belief, it wasn't desire. The reason was simple. They consumed content without a structure, okay? They had information, but no system of transformation to return to. No sequence that rebuilt their thinking over and over again. No designed path that followed the repetition that Bob himself used. Bob didn't transform because he found great ideas. He transformed because he built a practice around those ideas, a rhythm and a structure that he followed, whether he felt like it or not. Most people, they try to skip that part. They think that the insight alone is enough. Well, it's not. The insight fades, but structure, that solidifies, okay? So here's some questions that I want you to kind of sit with for a second. Not, is this program good? It is. Not, can I afford it? You'll figure that part out. You will. And as Bob would often say, it's not about, can I afford to do this? No, the better question is, can I really afford not to do this? Think about that. So ask yourself here, am I done just watching random content yet? Am I done with being inspired for a few days and then sliding back to where I've been? Are you ready to stop collecting ideas and start installing a system that does the work for you day after day, whether you feel motivated or not? Because that's what separates the people who transform from the people who stay stuck. Not intelligence, not genetics, not luck, but a structure they actually follow. Bob used to say repetition is the first law of learning. So he didn't mean read it once and hope it sticks. He meant for you to return to it again and again, just like he did, until it's not something you know, it's something that you are. So are you going to just keep on consuming, or are you ready to install? Let's install, shall we? For the people who are ready, who just felt something shift here today, let me show you exactly what we've built for you. This isn't a course that you watch once and forget. It's a self-guided success operating system designed and installed through repetition. Okay, 13 lessons, studied often, and structured so that the principles move from your head into your daily method of operation. And there's no group time frame to keep up with, no busy live call calendar to schedule around. Just you, the material, and a path designed to make transformation certain if you follow it. You know, you've heard some impactful stories today, and maybe as you were listening, something sparked inside you. And at the same time, maybe a little fear crept up too, okay? You know the fear. It's not about whether this works. You already know that it does, but it's that quieter fear, that one that says, what if I don't follow through? What if I do it wrong? You know, what if I've tried things before like this and they didn't stick? Well, hear me now, clearly. This is not about getting it all at once. This is not about perfection. It is definitely not about proving anything to anyone. You don't have to understand everything on your first listen or even the second or third. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to be good at personal development. You simply show up for yourself as much as you can. You can do that, right? I know you can. And that's how paradigms actually change, brick by brick, one layer at a time, one repetition at a time, okay? So as we move forward, I want you to stay focused on one thing, not whether this program is good, but whether you're ready to make a simple commitment to yourself. Because if you are, the results, they take care of themselves. Now let me show you exactly how this is structured and how incredibly accessible we have made it for you to get started today. We call this Proctor's Principles on Demand. It is a 13-lesson framework designed to install internal order, aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with universal law, finally making success a certainty. So let me walk you through this, not just from a what you get standpoint, but also from a why this works standpoint. So here's everything you receive when you sign up for Proctor's Principles on Demand today. At the center of this is the Proctor's Principles Core Program, your new success operating system. These 13 foundational lessons, they aren't random, they're very sequenced. There is a specific order like you've never seen before. Because when the order is right, resistance drops and progress speeds up. And the workbook isn't there to keep you busy. It's there to help you bring what you're studying into form, onto paper, into awareness, and outward through action. And yes, you have lifetime access to the core lessons because this isn't something that you finish, it's something that you return to as you grow. This is Bob Proctor's timeless teachings, clarified, modernized, and integrated through Brian and Cory's unique lived experience. It's a proven step-by-step system you can come back to again and again as your goals evolve. Now, this next part is incredibly powerful. In addition to the core lessons, you also receive live teaching recordings for each of the 13 lessons. These are recordings from live coaching sessions with Brian and Cory, where they go deeper into each principle. In these, you're going to hear expanded explanations of each lesson and concept, real-world application examples, additional insights that only come out through live teaching, and repetition and reinforcement that helps the ideas really, really land. This is where understanding deepens and where the principles start to become part of how you think, how you speak, how you act, and who you be and become. And just like everything else inside Proctor's Principles on Demand, you have lifetime access to these recordings. This allows you to revisit each lesson again and again at deeper levels as you grow. Next up, and this is huge, ongoing reinforcement and support. Every month, there is a live Q&A call with Brian and Cory, and that's every single month, so that you never get stuck, so that your questions don't turn into excuses and momentum doesn't quietly fade. This is where clarity gets restored. This is where alignment gets recalibrated. And again, lifetime access. The value cannot be overstated because repetition is the point, and your success journey has no finish line. You're also joining a private community inside the Proctor's Principles app. This is where you share your wins with other members, track your daily study and progress, stay accountable to your commitment, and let the momentum of others support your own journey. And this matters more than most people realize. Transformation accelerates when you're not doing it alone and when your environment reinforces who you are becoming. You will also receive access to the Embodiment library. This is where the principles move from intellectual to personal. You'll find morning and evening meditations. Our members really rave about these. Special embodiment sessions around self-image, money, relationships, sales, and business. This isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about giving you simple daily ways to stay aligned, even on busy days. Now, when you add all of this up, the total value is $20,875. But that is not what you're going to invest today. Nope. When you sign up for Proctor's Principles on Demand today, you get instant and lifetime access for just $997 USD. That's $997 one time, not monthly and not annually. One decision, lifetime access. You're in the room forever. And you know, most programs like this, they'd give you 3 or 6 months of access to the live Q&A calls and then ask you to pay more to continue or join a subscription. But not us. This is still just $997 one time, lifetime access to the materials and Brian and Cory live every single month. This is over $20,000 in value, just $997. And trust me, it could be worth 10, 20, or even 100 times that to your life. It certainly has been for mine. Now, the truth is, the real investment here isn't the money. It's the decision to show up for yourself, to repeat, to build brick by brick, okay? That's how paradigms change. So if you're someone who feels ready to make that commitment, this was designed to support you every step of the way. Click the button below to get started. Now, in a moment, Brian and Cory will come back on to wrap things up here. But as you're looking at this, I'd invite you not to ask, does this look like a good program? Instead, ask, am I ready to commit to the process? Because if you are, this absolutely works. And when you click the button below, you'll see even more stories on that page from our members talking about how it absolutely works for them too. All right, now I want you to really listen to me here for a second, okay? If you love Bob Proctor's work, but you're done with inspiration alone and ready for application, this is for you. If you've spent money on programs that didn't stick, coaches who didn't care, or you're wondering if big success maybe just isn't for you, well, this is your time, and Brian and Cory are your people, okay? You see, we reject the lie here that there's only one kind of success. We reject the toxic grind of hustle culture and all of the gurus out there selling high-ticket promises of overnight millions who have no problem draining your bank account, and then they disappear. This is not that, okay? Brian and Cory show up very differently. And this is not more noise. This is your reset button. Nobody else can give you this. Not like this, not through this lens, not with this level of care, structure, certainty, and experience that Brian and Cory bring to the table. So what is the real cost? Staying stuck. You've already wasted time. You've already spent money. You don't need another course. You need a decision. So here we are. This is the line. You can keep circling the same goals, consuming content, hoping the next thing will click, or you can say, enough. I'm done waiting, and I'm going to step over the line. Click below right now and enroll. You're going to spend the time and the money anyways, so how about investing it in you? Remember, everything inside this is designed around one thing, helping you follow through. The core program gives you the right order and the right framework. The workbook helps you turn concepts into results. The live teaching recordings help you integrate the lessons into your way of being. The community and the app keeps you on track, accountable, and plugged into the frequency of winning. The monthly Q&A calls keep you from getting stuck or drifting. And the embodiment library speeds up, smooths out, and supports the installation of your new operating system. And again, you have lifetime access to all of it. So this really isn't about content at all. It's about whether you're ready to commit to a proven practice, to adopt a pattern of success. Because if you are, this is your moment. So let's go. Click below right now to sign up in just a few easy clicks. Within minutes, you'll receive your access to the Proctor's Principles app and everything you need to get started. Now, Brian and Cory, would you please join me back on screen here for some final thoughts? We'll start with you, Cory. Hi, Cory.
Hey, Tommy, thank you so much. And I want to thank you for spending this time with us. And I want to invite you to be curious. Be curious about you. Is there any area of your life that needs improving, upgrading? Of course there is. We are all seeking improvement. We are all seeking growth. Well, we are giving you an opportunity to join us. Let us help you get there because we know we can. I look forward to seeing you on the inside.
Thanks, Cory. I have I guess, a guiding principle that I work with. This is something that I learned from my father, and that is this: stay authentic, speak from the heart, not my head. Share what I learned, share what I know, and most importantly, share how I use it. That is what I want to do with you. You're not going to get Bob Proctor with me. You're going to get Brian Proctor. You're going to get me sharing my life experience of what it was like having Bob Proctor as a father, all the things I learned from him. He taught me his very best. He wanted the best for me. He was reprogramming his mind from an early age. And as he was doing that, he was programming mine. I know I have some great things I can share with you. I really hope that you decide to join us, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. So thank you very much.
All right, that is a wrap. Thank you for being with us here today. And from the bottom of my heart and from the depths of my soul, I invite you into this three-phase journey with us inside Proctor's Principles on Demand. And we're going to show you the exact sequence to be, to do, to have, and to give whatever you really, really want. Okay, we're going to help you get clear. If you're not clear, we're going to help you realize who you are. We're going to help you step into that. We're going to help you embody that and help you have a beautiful rest of your life here on this planet. All right. Can't wait to see you inside. Thanks again for being here, and see you again soon.
What would happen in your life if you were the best version of you every single day?
All the great leaders, all down through history, have been in complete and unanimous agreement that you and I become what we think about.
In a universe where destiny intertwines with the power of belief.
What I'm talking about is moving your mind into a higher vibration, developing a higher consciousness, and you can literally attract all the good that you want.
I've always said I think I live a charmed life, and that really is because I had Bob Proctor as a father. I got to learn from him in ways that you don't learn from a book. I got it firsthand from somebody who was really one of the founders in the business.
We're all working with one power, one law. It's attraction. The secret is the law of attraction.
Joining us now is Bob Proctor, New York Times best-selling author, lecturer, and counselor. He's been described as preaching the gospel of positive thinking and maximizing human potential.
Growing up, my father didn't just teach me, he programmed my mind for success.
Keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can.
If you can see it, you can do it. The beautiful truth is you can do anything. If you can see it here, you can hold it here.
My father instilled in me the belief that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. And it's now my mission to share what I know with you.
Experience the extraordinary story of a man whose life was sculpted by the wisdom of a legend.
Dad always said to me, he says, Brian, you can be, do, or have anything you want in this world. And this program is all about that. It's about being, doing, and having more. Just more, whatever that is for you, whatever's important for you.
What kind of a house do you want to live in? What kind of a business do you want to have? What do you really want?
I feel that this program really carries on the message of what my father was about, what he taught. It's important to me to deliver that same message, but in my way. I certainly will never feel like I can be like my father. I will not fill his shoes by any means. But I think I can certainly share what I've learned from him, how it's affected me. And I think by doing that, I can show you how to live a better life.
If you're not getting the results you want, your way obviously isn't working. Why don't you try ours?
We have to take ownership of what's going on in our life. If we're not living the life we want to live, if we're stuck, if we're in a place that we don't want to be, it's up to us to change it. Nobody else is going to do it for us.
Do you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, by God, I'm going to change something. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
It's time to create the life you've always dreamed of. I'm Brian Proctor. This is Proctor's Principles. I do know how fortunate I am to call Bob Proctor my father. This is my way of sharing that privilege with you.
If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand.